Have you ever met someone and immediately, without knowing anything about that person, you formed an opinion? Yes, it happens to everyone. But how does our brain judge someone in a fraction of a second? Stay with us because today you will discover the secrets behind this automatic process, and the last point will surprise you. Our brain is an incredible machine, capable of processing billions of information in a few moments. But when it comes to judging a person, it does so with a speed that escapes our consciousness. In psychology, this phenomenon is known as thin slicing, literally slicing thinly, and it allows us to form judgments in a fraction of a second based on small cues. But how does this mechanism work, and how much can we trust these lightning-fast judgments? Let's find out together. Before continuing, I invite you to like if you are curious to discover how our brain operates these quick judgments, and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the most interesting topics on human psychology. Now get ready to learn about the process that drives our instant judgments. And don't miss the final point, because it could really change the way you interact with others. 1. The brain and rapid information processing. When we meet a new person, our brains immediately engage in a frenetic activity of information processing. Every little detail is analyzed, from body language to intonation of voice, from clothing to facial expressions. This process, called thin slicing, occurs in the most primitive part of our brain and allows us to form a general impression in a few milliseconds. It's as if our brain takes a sample of information and, based on that, makes a rapid assessment. This mechanism was fundamental to the survival of our ancestors because it allowed them to quickly decide whether someone represented a threat or an ally. Today, even though we live in a much less dangerous context, our brain continues to operate in this automatic mode. Studies by social psychologists such as Nalini Ambady have shown that we can form accurate judgments about a person in just a few seconds, and these first impressions can have a lasting impact. Imagine, in just 7 seconds, a person could have already decided whether to trust you or not. Yet how much of this judgment is actually based on deep knowledge? This is the crucial question. 2. The influence of the unconscious and prejudices. Another fascinating aspect of how our brains judge people is the role of the unconscious. Much of our initial decision-making is influenced by prejudices and stereotypes that we have accumulated over time, often without even being aware of it. These biases can come from past experiences, culture, education, and even the media. For example, if we have been raised to believe that a certain posture indicates arrogance, we may automatically associate that negative quality with anyone who assumes that position, even if we have no real evidence to support it. A key concept here is that of heuristics, which are mental shortcuts that our brains use to make quick decisions without having to process every single detail. This system helps us save energy, but it can lead to errors and distorted judgments. This is why sometimes we find ourselves judging someone negatively just for a seemingly insignificant detail, such as a weak handshake or a fleeting glance. 3. The importance of attraction and the halo effect. Another powerful factor that influences our snap judgments is physical attractiveness. Psychological research shows that we tend to judge attractive people positively, not only in terms of appearance, but also in terms of intelligence, honesty, and competence. This phenomenon is known as the halo effect. Our mind tends to extend a perceived positive quality, such as physical attractiveness, to other characteristics that have no direct correlation. For example, a physically attractive person might automatically be perceived as more competent, even if we have no concrete evidence of their abilities. The halo effect is particularly strong in professional or social contexts. A boss or coworker who appears well-groomed and confident could easily be seen as more capable than someone who appears less confident or less well-groomed, even if their actual merits do not justify the difference. This shows how our judgments are influenced by superficial and, in many cases, completely unconscious factors. 4. The role of micro-expressions. Micro-expressions are one of the most powerful tools our brain uses to judge others. They are tiny, involuntary movements of the facial muscles that happen in a fraction of a second and reveal a person's true emotions. Even if these expressions are so rapid that they escape conscious awareness, our brain automatically registers them and uses them to interpret the attitude of the person in front of us. For example, a brief expression of disgust, lasting only a tenth of a second, can profoundly influence our perception of a person, making us think that they are angry or in disagreement, even if that person is trying to hide their true emotional state. The brain's ability to decode these micro-expressions is an evolutionary skill that has allowed us to quickly interpret the intentions of others in dangerous situations. However, even in modern situations, these rapid impressions can affect the way we relate to others. Now that you know how the brain makes snap judgments, what do you think? Have you ever changed your mind about someone after thinking about it more deeply? Let us know in the comments. If you want to learn more about how to better control these automatic judgments, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And now, let's see if we can really change the way we judge people. 5. Last but not least, can we control these judgments? Here's the important part. Although our brains are wired to make snap judgments, we are not completely at the mercy of these automatic processes. We can train our minds to question our snap judgments and correct any errors. One of the most effective ways to do this is to practice mindfulness. Being aware of our biases and the heuristics our brain uses allows us to slow down and analyze the situation more deeply. For example, when we notice that we have formed a quick opinion about someone, we can stop and ask ourselves, am I judging this person based on actual facts or just a first impression? This type of conscious reflection can significantly improve the quality of our social interactions, helping us avoid misunderstandings and unfair judgments. We have seen how the brain, in a fraction of a second, can determine the opinion we form of others, often with errors due to prejudices or cognitive shortcuts. The good news is that we can become more aware of these processes and improve our social relationships. If you want to continue this journey of discovery of human behavior, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video with those who could benefit from it. Remember, first impressions count, but we can always go further.